Hey, vinyl community, Mark here again from Sound Matters, covering all things vinyl. Today's topic is record storage options. So unlike digital formats, of course, which don't take up much space in our home or even at all if we go fully streaming, records take up a phenomenal amount of space, particularly if we have a fairly sizable collection. So depending on the size of your home, of course, you may need to get fairly creative about where you start to store your records as your collection starts to get sizable. So we're going to cover all kinds of options. So no matter what size of home you live in, whether it's a big, large mansion or a fairly small, humble sized home like the one that I'm in, there's something here for you. So let's go straight into the video. Go over to the Sound Matters website now for a whole bunch of different options for you to check out. But I think we have to start with, really, don't we, the ubiquitous IKEA KALLAX. Most of you have probably already come across this before, and for good reason. They're very good units for storing records, a lot of records in many cases, fairly cheaply. They are easy to obtain. You can get them pretty much anywhere in the world, really, and they're perfectly sized in terms of the inside units, the 13 by 13 in size for storing 12-inch records. So they're great in that respect. You know, they come in a whole bunch of different sizes and some different finishes as well. But one thing you really have to be mindful of is weight. Now, you may see pictures where it demonstrates that you might be able to reorientate the unit so that it's on its side, so it goes horizontal rather than this vertical image that you can see over at the website here. But that's not really true when we consider the weight of records. We've got to be very mindful of which one of these inside boards are designed to take the load. These are full length boards here, which are fairly strong, and these ones here are actually just dividers, and the only thing holding those in place really are very small wooden dowels. So that's why we see those infamous IKEA KALLAX collapse scenarios online all over the internet. Pictures of the leaning stack of records and potentially very damaged, unfortunately, records in the process. So if you are going to consider flipping it on the side and using it that other way, I would definitely look at reinforcing the unit, adding extra strength. I think a lot of people add, boards at the back of the unit to kind of add additional strength to make sure it's more rigid as a unit, or in some cases for extra security, adding metal brackets to the unit as well. So you can customize them perhaps to do that, but you've just got to be mindful of the fact that those divider boards, those small dividers, are not designed to take a large load. So records are heavy, right? And we don't want to have our records collapse and potentially damage them. If run-of-the-mill kind of IKEA options are starting to bore you a little bit, then you could look at a number of the really cool kind of mid-century options that are now becoming easier and easier to find, such as this one here. This is easy to locate on Amazon, easy to find enough, and has that cool kind of classic mid-century vibe with a kind of contemporary twist. You've got the kind of really cool mid-century style hairpin legs here, but you've also got some really handy sort of echoed, if you like, in the way that they look, compartments to divide your records up in a nice, neat way. But it also has some really handy kind of drawer space unit here to keep away a lot of those vinyl accessories and keep them out of sight, keep and maintain that clean and contemporary look. I think for somebody who's got just a standard kind of very small living room set up for listening to a few records with the family, this is potentially a really cool option for you. If you're into the mid-century style, here's another slightly larger option for you to take a look at. Now, I think there is something just about the mid-century style that really suits turntable cabinets, probably helped in part by the fact that vinyl was at its peak during the post-war mid-century art movement. This one has sliding slat doors and a walnut effect that looks really sharp and just allows for plenty of storage space for both your records and accessories. So your turntable can actually sit right on top of this one. It looks really sharp, I think, and it makes a great listening station and a centerpiece within your home. So although the safest way to store records really is within a storage cabinet, such as the ones we mentioned already, there is a time and a place for these kind of more contemporary, let's say more display type record storage solutions. Some people might not have the space for a full cabinet. Some people might be living in small apartments, or perhaps they're just not as concerned about storing records in the most safe way to preserve them for years to come, as a lot of audiophiles such as myself and many of the other people who watch this channel are. Some people want to display vinyl more as a focal point within the room, and if that's the case, then kind of storage units like this one here, this metal metal kind of matte black holder here can hold somewhere between 160 and 300 records, and it does make a really cool kind of focus point in the corner of a room if that's the kind of thing you're going for. So again, if you fall more into the casual collector kind of category, or you're looking for something that just looks really cool in the home, then Crosley actually makes some really interesting stuff in this vein. The Crosley brand, of course, is well known for making their slightly contentious kind of cheap and cheerful record players, but they do make some interesting products on the side of that, and this is one of them. This is a mid-century style stand that can hold around 20 records, and it can either double up as a coffee table, or you can put your cheap and cheerful record player on top as a bit of a focal point if you wanted to. So just to round off the record storage holders that are more style over function, if we can kind of call them that, then Urban Outfitters are actually an interesting one to look at as well. Urban Outfitters, of course, sell vinyl as a lifestyle product, and undoubtedly they've contributed to the kind of resurgence of interest in vinyl among younger listeners. Now, because they're a fashion retailer, of course, they focus predominantly on the aesthetic of vinyl, and they make some really cool storage solutions that celebrate the beauty of vinyl as a format. One example is this kind of gold metal rack that is a compartment essentially designed to house 12-inch LPs. Right, back to the more serious stuff. This is something that I actually did myself. This is an example from my own record storage solutions, if you like. I took this old antique teak 60s cabinet and I restored it into something that I consider to be a really nice upcycled project. So if you're feeling ambitious and adventurous, you could try customizing or upcycling vintage units. If you're into the kind of mid-century thing, instead of buying a kind of store-bought standard solution such as the ones we mentioned earlier, you could make something really unique and really cool, make a real project of it by going to your local antique store and picking up something similar to what you can see here. So essentially I took this 60s teak cabinet, applied some chalk paint on the front of it and painted it kind of really for a modern style. I installed some hairpin legs for more of a timeless mid-century look. I think the result looks really cool. So you can take a look at the whole project and how I kind of did this. There's a link in the description below, along with, of course, a link to all the different record cabinets that we're mentioning, all the different record storage options that we're mentioning in this video. But what about if you're storing records to move house, or you need to put them into storage for a significant amount of time? Well, you could then look, of course, at the many flight cases that are available that are much safer than just storing things in open milk crates, for example, or even very flimsy cardboard boxes. If you need to move house abroad in particular, then really you do need to look at flight cases to make sure you preserve your precious records and that they're not going to get damaged in transit. So look at something like this. This can hold up to 150 records, and it's a worthwhile investment. You know, if you value your records and you move them, the last thing you want to do is arrive to your destination and find that your very expensive and, you know, well looked after and precious record collection has been destroyed in the process. Speaking of record crates though, they do really have their place when it comes to record overflow. Sometimes our collection expands beyond our initial kind of record storage and we just need somewhere safely to stow away a few extras that we can tuck underneath the unit or store away in a cupboard somewhere, just anywhere really where we can stow away black gold safely until we can find somewhere more permanent to store them. And I really like the aesthetic of something like these wooden crates here, and they have the vintage Victrola brand on there, which I think is kind of cool as well. You can stuff them away in all kinds of places and they're just handy things to have, even if you're just temporarily putting a few records in there when you get home and you want to organise them, you want to wait for them to be properly cleaned perhaps before you put them away more permanently in your permanent record storage. They're a handy thing to have. So before we kind of wrap this video up then, the last one to really cover in terms of real serious proper record storage, if you like, is a handmade bespoke unit. You could consider going bespoke if you really want to maximize the record storage space that you can get from your listening space. Take this example here from a local, actually fairly local to me, handmade furniture maker called Fletcher & Mills, and actually within this space the customer specified to have a message engraved across the solid wood top, and I really like the sentiment. Let's just read it out here. It says, "And you can dream, so dream out loud and don't let the bastards get you down." So when you go bespoke, the beauty of it is you can really make it yours. You can go for the style that suits you, suits your room, suits your personality, suits the music that you like, and even how you like to organise your records, which is a whole other topic that we've talked about, of course, on this channel, which I will link in this video and in the description below. So not record display as such, but as a bonus, I'm including these display systems behind me that I use to display real vinyl art on the wall in my record cave. They're designed by our friends over at 12 Inch, and they've just upgraded the whole system from a plastic and carton based design to an all bamboo based product, which is much more sustainable and just feels much more luxurious as a product. It's a lovely way to celebrate the vinyl format, given that we get that larger canvas and the art form really takes the artwork really takes the center stage with vinyl. I think that's worth celebrating and adding into the mix in terms of how we store vinyl records. If you're interested in creating a record display from real record covers, you can do it without the records in there. If you're worried about that kind of thing, then check out the link in the description below and check out our full review to learn more. You can get 10% off as a Sound Matters subscriber using the discount code in the description of this video. Now, of course, as I say, all of the other record storage solutions that we've mentioned in this video are also in the description below, so be sure to check those out as well. So thanks very much for watching. That concludes today's topic. Hopefully you found some of these options useful. Some of them are very well known. Other ones perhaps are new to you. Maybe you've used some of these storage options yourself. Maybe you have one of these storage cabinets. Have you gone bespoke? Did you maybe build one yourself? Let us know down in the comments below. Are you one of these people that has to have overflow in terms of, storage space? Do you have to have kind of cases where you store some of those overflow records, or perhaps stuff that you're storing for the long term? Have you used them to move house, for example? Let us know down in the comments below how you stored your records, what kind of containers you use, what kind of storage cabinet you have. Maybe even send us a picture. I'd love to see the different record caves from the vinyl community out there. So thanks ever so much for watching. If you're new to this channel, please do consider subscribing, and we'll see you in that next video. Keep spinning.